Today's presentation is something that I'm very passionate about. And the title is Mastering Menopause, Strategies for Losing Your Belly Fat, Regulating Your Hormones, and Reducing Stress for Women over 40. So this is what we're going to be covering today. It's quite comprehensive. So we're going to be going over what exactly is menopause. We're going to be going over the hormonal shifts and their impact on the female body. We're going to be going over a very important aspect, which is nutrition and calories. We're going to be digging deep in that regard. We're going to be covering exercise and training, cortisol, the stress hormone cortisol, and its impact during menopause. We're going to go over self-care and stress management, which is crucial. And then there's insulin resistance during menopause as well. We're digging deep on specific comprehensive blood work and hormone testing. Also, certain supplements that will help you on this phase of life as well, and hormone replacement therapy. And we'll be going over some success stories we've had with our clients down through the years too.
That hurts. I can't even see the period. Well, I'm gonna have to write the period on this small line. Period. Mom, I had to do this. Well, this is my only hope.
Here we go. So guys, we do have a special offer for non-clients as well. So what we're offering is free comprehensive blood work and a lab review if you sign up to our program. Now, spaces are limited. To schedule a call with me or my team, you can click the link in my IG bio, which is the picture to the left. You can click the link in the Zoom chat box, or you can DM me on Instagram with the hashtag Bloodwork. This is for US and Canada potential clients. Outside of the US and Canada, we do saliva, urine, and finger prick. It's also available to you guys. So the first 5 get in. Offer ends tonight at midnight. That's for our non-clients. But let's get rocking and rolling. So why listen to me first? I mean, I'm a man, okay? I mean, what the hell do I know about hormones? What do I know about menopause? I can tell you a story. My first 3 clients as a personal trainer back in 2012, 11 years ago, were a 42-year-old woman, a 51-year-old woman, and a 63-year-old woman. I was just basically teaching them how to squat, how to do simple body weight exercise in the gym. So I've worked with close to nearly 2,000 clients, both in person and online. Majority of them happen to be women over 40. I don't know what it was. I had better fun. They liked my workouts. They liked my approach. I seem to get on better with women. I have 2 older sisters. Seem to get on better with them. I'm a self-confessed mammy's boy as well. So my background, my education is in exercise and nutrition science, biomechanics, personal training, and endocrinology. Now, I've invested a lot of time, energy, and money into courses, mentorships. I've been mentored by some of the most knowledgeable coaches in the health and fitness industry. So I'm obsessed with hormones. I've been on hormone replacement therapy for the last 3 years. Now, I do that under the supervision of a doctor, and I get my blood work done every 4 months. So a little bit about Justin. Do you want to just go over your background, Justin?
Sure. So, background in personal training for several years, which kind of led me down the road to functional medicine. So I actually work in a hormone replacement clinic. That's my 9 to 5. So I work with men and women with hormonal issues, really focusing on dysfunction in endocrine system. So that kind of led me to Dave. I actually met him through the clinic, had a review of some labs that I did for him, and wanted to join him to help him with overviews for the coaching staff on potential treatments, nutraceuticals, things that we can do to help their clients.
Just again, look, we do understand that menopause, it's a very intimate experience for women, and we respect the intricacies of that journey. Like, again, while we may not experience menopause personally, our extensive training and the combined expertise of the experienced women on our team who have navigated these hormonal challenges does ensure comprehensive care and understanding. Like, my team's shared goal is to support and guide women through this phase of life. And I'm proud of the results that we've achieved over the last 11 years. So what is menopause? It occurs between the ages of 45 and 55. It marks the end of a woman's menstrual cycle. It's also accompanied by physical and emotional changes due to reduced estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Now, it can affect a woman's bone health. It can lead to osteoporosis. Now, some symptoms may start 15 years earlier, like during perimenopause. That's characterized by irregular cycles, and estrogen levels, they fluctuate quite wildly as well during perimenopause. So it's confirmed when a woman has no period for 1 year and they have elevated FSH levels and LH levels. So it's often indicated on labs by an FSH test above 30. You want to go over some stuff there, Justin? You good?
Yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward. I was going to get a little bit more in depth as we go through the next few slides.
Yeah, so weight gain during this phase is very common due to hormonal imbalances and especially stress. That really impacts the ovarian function. Now, certain medical treatments, like a partial or full hysterectomy when a woman has had her uterus removed and or her ovaries, that's known as surgical menopause. It can also be brought on by chemotherapy, radiation, and premature ovarian failure, POF. These all can result in early menopause.
I think some of the things when we look at reasons why someone could be in a perimenopausal state, I think there's a lot of things that can be contributing factors outside of the hysterectomy, chemotherapy, radiation. I think birth control, long-term use can cause disruptions to the HPO axis. So from your brain to your ovaries being able to secrete hormones. So some people watching may say, hey, I don't have any issues, never had a hysterectomy, haven't had chemotherapy or radiation. But a lot of women are put on birth control. A lot of women have exposure to environmental toxins, heavy metals. All of those things can disrupt these endocrine processes in the body.
Let's go over the hormonal shifts and their impact on the female body. I want to talk about estrogen dominance, which is high estrogen. This occurs when the balance between estrogen and the calming hormone progesterone, it shifts basically. This leads to relatively high levels of estrogen compared to progesterone. Now, during perimenopause, there is a decline in progesterone. How? Stress plays a huge factor here. When you have high cortisol, that results in reduction of your progesterone. Also, a decline in estrogen levels during menopause. So, not many women know about the decline as well in testosterone. It's very important that a woman has optimal levels of testosterone as well.
Some of the things in regards to hormonal changes. So when the ovaries start to fail, you want to think of your adrenal hormones being more responsible of creating certain estrogens. The adrenal glands produce quite a bit of estrone, which is one of your 3 estrogens. Really, estradiol is going to be the driver to protect bone, brain health, and endothelial function. What that means is helping keep elasticity to the cardiovascular system. So it's very important to keep up with your metrics as you're approaching this time frame to intervene with appropriate treatments. All of these things are vital. Progesterone is needed to protect the the endometrial lining on women. So if estrogen is very high and progesterone is very low, there can be issues with female gonads, essentially, along with a lot of other things. Testosterone is something that's also undermined quite a bit. I see a lot of practitioners talking about replacing estrogen and progesterone. Granted, those are your master hormones. You make an abundance of those, but testosterone is going to be a driver to retain lean muscle mass. As we age, I believe we lose about 1% of muscle mass after 40. Testosterone is going to be a key driver to keep muscle mass intact, as well as help create new bone. So we look at lots of medications that are out to help create new bone in women who have osteoporosis. Well, we know estrogen is protective to bone, but testosterone actually is going to help rebuild bone. So all three of them serve a very important purpose for women in just having adequate hormone production and hormone homeostasis.
Well, some of the physical changes during menopause is thinning hair. As Justin said, there less muscle mass, more belly fat, and then you have hot flashes, night sweats, mood changes, sleep disturbances, and brain fog.
Some of the things that stick out to me here, if someone, say, is kind of a perimenopausal state, is like the mood changes, sleep disturbances, night sweats, really having less amounts of estrogen circulating in the body can cause a lot of this. So we want to think of what Davey spoke about previously, the LH and the FSH, of being like a light switch to your ovaries to make hormones. That light switch starts to flicker at a certain point, and that's when you start to go into this perimenopausal state. So if you're experiencing symptoms like this, that would be a really good time to do labs and get an idea of what's going on.
Let's talk about calories and nutrition. Like, specifically, what does a woman need to do in order to lose belly fat? But I do want to go over the top 3 mistakes that I've seen over the last 11 years with women over 40 when it comes to their nutrition. First thing I've seen is just general under eating, not fueling your body correctly. Like going too low in calories without any periods at maintenance or diet breaks, it will downregulate your thyroid. It will downregulate sex hormones further. It will cause a lot of imbalances, and it will cause metabolic adaptation, which is slow metabolism. So anything below 10x your current body weight in calories, to me, is under eating. So if you're a 160-pound woman and you're eating below 1,600 calories, I think that is under eating. So if you're a 200-pound woman, you're eating below 2,000, that will catch up with you. It's okay to drop calories, briefly to get that extra stubborn body fat off, but the problem arises when you stay down there for a long period of time. Second mistake I've seen is just not eating enough protein and fiber. Like protein, it's essential. It keeps you full, okay? The fact that you're eating more protein, it burns more calories. It's the thermic effect of food, okay? Fiber is crucial for your digestion. It's going to help with insulin resistance and help to stabilize your blood sugar levels. Last mistake I see is just that quick fix mindset. Like, we live in the age of the instant gratification. Everyone wants results now, but the faster that you lose weight, the faster it piles back on and more. You have to think long term. Like, what worked for you in your 30s, I guarantee you it's not going to work for you in your 40s. So true metabolism and healing and sustainable fat loss, it does take time, okay? If you're looking for a cheap, quick fix, cheap, quick fixes probably got you in this mess in the first place. So you have to have patience. You have to have consistency. You have to have several fat loss phase is planned out and structured over a long period of time.
I'm in agreement pretty much with everything Davey spoke about. You know, we want to think about our bodies are always chasing homeostasis. So eventually, if you're in a very low calorie standpoint, that becomes your new normal. So if you're eating 1,000 calories on a consistent basis, your metabolism is going to adapt to that, as well as some of the hormones like thyroid hormone. So doing different types of phases of dieting. So if someone is chronically under eating, spending some time in a maintenance or a surplus, and then working back into a deficit really does help with the production of hormones, specifically leptin, ghrelin, your hunger hormones, being able to reset those things so you're able to continue through a fat loss phase. Obviously, protein, fiber are essential for satiation, digestion, GI function. I think those things are undermined quite a bit as well.
I'm going to go over the 5 steps to losing weight sustainably for women over 40. The first thing you need to find out is like how to create a calorie deficit. Like a calorie deficit is needed for fat loss, right? A weekly calorie deficit. So what we do with our clients is before they come on board, we get them to track and weigh their food for 7 days first. So we need to see 7 days normal eating habits from them first. We get them to do this through an app called MyFitnessPal. It's a calorie counting app. So just say you find the average calories after 7 days is 2,000 and you maintain your weight. That means your maintenance calorie level is 2,000. Okay. So what you need to do is create a calorie deficit. So you create a 15% deficit. That's a small deficit. I like small deficits. Too big of a deficit, your body may adapt and you may run into some hormonal and metabolic adaptation. Where do you go from there? You have to go deeper and deeper, right? So just say your maintenance calorie level is 2,000. 15% deficit is 300 calories below that. So that's the calorie deficit is 1,700 calories. That's what we do. Justin, you may have a different approach, but what's your thoughts?
No, I think really getting a baseline is probably the most important thing to understand what your body truly needs. So I'm a huge proponent of tracking food, doing something very similar to what you do on a day-to-day basis, and then add or subtract from there. So very much in the same stance, obviously finding foods that work for you, but getting an idea of what your total is initially to know if you should add or remove from the total intake.
However, maybe a lot of people watching this will think, gosh, 1,700 calories, that's way too much. And, you know, it's not uncommon for us to see both men and women chronically undereat unintentionally. They don't mean to. But what we do in that situation is a kind of calorie cycling approach. This is for clients that maybe have unintentionally undereaten for a very long time. I'll explain what this is. We basically alternate between a calorie deficit and maintenance. For example, we might put someone in a fat loss phase for 2 weeks, like 1,400 calories. And then the other 2 weeks of the month, we put them higher calories, like 1,800. So the whole reason why we do this is to prevent metabolic slowdown. It actually protects your hormones, and it's been proven in studies to avoid rapid weight regain. This is actually called the Matador study, style of dieting. I love that. I really think it's our clients. We introduced this 4 or 5 months ago and they seem to like it, and they're getting results. Now, it's important to know, look, if you have certain health issues like underactive thyroid or an autoimmune thyroiditis, which is Hashimoto's, or severe metabolic adaptation, like you may be genuinely maintaining your weight on 1,000 calories a day. Obviously, we can't put you in a fat loss phase. Like, imagine that would be like a calorie deficit, 800 calories a day. That's not sustainable. That's not healthy. That's not what we recommend. It's going to cause more harm than good. what we recommend for clients like that is an extended period eating at maintenance. Let your body heal. You have to let your body heal. So the longer you stay in maintenance, the longer your body just it heals, as I keep saying. So a minimum 3 months, you need to focus on ideally liver support, liver health, your adrenal, and your gut health for optimal healing. Would you have a client at 3 months minimum, Justin, or longer?
Yeah, I didn't even say anything because you're right on the head there. I mean, if we're dealing with some sort of autoimmune or adrenal fatigue type of issue, you probably need to work on healing before working on fat loss. And that's tough for people to hear, but if you don't address that in the immediate, you're never going to get to that long-term goal of that you want.
Yeah, I like to use the analogy like we can't take water from a bucket that's empty. Okay, so it's probably in your best interest, based on my experience, based over the last 10 years, like just to take time out and focus on moving better, increasing your protein, increasing your fiber, just getting strong and a better relationship with food. And then down the line, your body will be healed, and then you will respond to a fat loss phase. Let's talk about carbs, carbohydrates. Now, this is interesting for a woman over 40 because too few carbohydrates could actually trigger the release of stress hormone for blood sugar regulation. But too many carbohydrates, it actually raises the risk of more belly fat, more fat. So look, everyone is different. There isn't a set number of how many carbs you should eat every day. We could go by, look, 100 grams of carbs on your non-lifting days. And then on your lifting days, when you need more energy, you need more fuel, 150 grams. Now, again, look, this depends on a woman's energy. Well, what is she doing? Is she sitting down all day in front of a computer? She's probably not burning as much calories. She doesn't need as much calories. But if she's on the go, she's working out every day, which I don't recommend, she'd obviously need more carbs for fuel, right? They're the main fuel source. Do you have a certain number you would suggest, Justin, for carbs?
I think it's very much what you hit on there is like activity demands. I'm, for example, 210-pound guy, and I eat 250 carbs because I don't move that much. I get my steps in, but the majority of my day is going to be sitting at a computer. I probably don't need to over consume an abundance of carbohydrates because my energy demands are low. I think that goes across the boards for men and women. I believe that there are points where carbohydrates can be higher, kind of depending on if we're calorie cycling. But for the most part, it needs to be 100% based off of energy demands, is really my philosophy on that.
Let's move on to protein, fiber, and fats. Like, how much protein do you need? Look, what I would suggest for protein, aim for your goal weight in grams. So if you're a 200-pound woman and your goal is to get to 140 pounds, aim for 140 grams of protein every day. Now, ideally, each meal should contain 30-40 grams as well. Fiber, it really depends as well. 20-25 grams. Now, bear in mind, not all fiber sources are the same. And just to touch on fats, okay, what we would recommend is go for 30% of your total daily calories should come from good, healthy fats. Fats are the precursor to hormones. They support your hormone health and they reduce inflammation.
I'm in the same camp as you as far as protein goal. I think a lot of protein demands is going to be based on digestion as well, depending on where somebody's gut health is and if they're able to support that protein with the appropriate amounts of stomach acid, be able to break that down and excrete it. But relatively for the healthy individual who doesn't have any GI issues, I like 0.7 to 1 grams per pound. I'm in the same boat with fiber. I think it's going to be based off of a lot to do with where the total calories are. The higher your calories, I do think that more fiber is warranted in those scenarios. If someone's in a very low deficit, I think that fiber may be a little less than 20. It depends on where the person is. And then finding fiber sources that work for you. Like me personally, I can't do broccoli, Brussels sprouts. I may have to opt for berries or other things to get some of my fiber in. So really having a coach and being able to log your food and have somebody hold you accountable for that is going to be a key driver to figuring out what foods work for you. And then fats are essential. I think that's the thing of the past of very low fat diets. For someone who is working on hormonal health, you really do need fat to be a backbone. It's a precursor to pregnenolone, which makes all of your endogenous sex hormones. So getting fat from quality sources, not bacon grease or trans fats, but poly and monounsaturated fats with some saturated fat. I think saturated fat is good to a degree, is really what you should make up of the total amount of fat you're getting in.
If you're struggling to get in your fiber, your protein, I would suggest our clients to check out that high protein, high fiber resource that we just finished up 2 weeks ago. It has 25 different recipes, 10 high protein, high fiber snacks that you can make under 5 minutes. I do want to talk about the importance of tracking your food and weighing your food consistently. It's so important. But look, it's not forever. I promise you, like tracking and weighing your food, it should not be forever, but it should be for at least 6 to 12 months. Like you might be thinking, gosh, I don't want to track food for 6 to 12 months. But think about this, 6 to 12 months is 1% of your life. So you live the other 99% happy, healthy. So learn how to diet once. It's not that long. So I like to use the analogy. Look, if you're in a vehicle, and you're going from New York to Los Angeles, okay, you need a GPS, okay? Otherwise you get lost, yeah? You might end up in Canada, you might end up in Mexico. It's going to take very long to reach your destination. Like tracking and weighing your food is like the GPS. It guides you. It gets to your destination quicker. Now, I can't emphasize enough that you need to track on the weekends as well. If you're tracking Monday to Thursday, you're only fooling yourself, okay? You have to track oils, sauces, mayonnaise, creams, sugar, dressings, alcohol, the food that you take off your kid's plate. Everything adds up. So it's super important, but it's not forever, I promise.
I think with tracking food, really what we're trying to do from a coaching philosophy is learning lifestyle habits. So after tracking your food for a year, you know what 8 ounces of, hypothetically, what chicken breast looks like. You can kind of eye those things and eat intuitively. Really, that's where you want to get to, is over time knowing what food looks like when you're pulling it off a plate and getting an idea of like rough calories. But initially, I don't know anybody who can pick up a piece of meat and assume that it's this much, it weighs this much, without looking at that and repeating that process for 6 months, to a year. So really, you don't want to be neurotic and obsess about it, but it is a great tool to implement if you're really serious about achieving your goals. You're going to have to get an idea of what food looks like, especially when you're going out to eat. You can make really good choices going out to eat if you're aware of what they're putting in their food and what portion size actually look like.
Let's move on to exercise and training. So these are the top 3 mistakes that I see women over 40 making when it comes to their exercising. Look, again, what worked for you in your 30s, it's not going to work in your 40s and 50s. So I just see a lot of people approaching the workouts with I have to burn X amount of calories, like with a calorie burning, like lose weight mindset, instead of I have to build muscle, get stronger mindset. Now, I've seen just reps and sets way too high. Like they're not taking enough rest between sets. There's too many training days. You're not recovering on time. So that female body is very, very, when it comes to stress, overtraining, it does cause stress. Excessive, high intensity workouts. Look, like Orange Theory, F45, spinning classes, CrossFit. Think about it. They all involve like the elevate your heart, right? They're all fast-paced movements. The modern woman, she's so busy taking care of her kids, her husband. She has a stressful job. It's all high stress, okay? And then at the end of her day, she might go to a HIIT class. That's more elevated heart. It's just more stress. So this can lead to an increase in stress levels. So what's your thoughts on that, Justin?
So really what I think is that if someone is already has a very, very stressful life, is overworked, this can be potentially not helpful in regards to losing weight. I do think that there is a place for some high intensity training for a healthy individual who has good cortisol response. But for the most part, I actually met a woman today who is doing just way too much exercise, had GI issues, had abnormal cortisol response, and had weight loss resistance. So we see this quite a bit, is that we are overworked and undernourished, and that's not just food. Spiritually, we are tired. So there are times to push and do rigorous exercise, and there's times to relax, rest, and digest. I think that for the most part, people do focus on burning too many calories in a certain setting, and not looking at total calories over a day, and kind of putting all their eggs in one basket. So really understanding where you are from a health and physical standpoint, and then tailoring exercise accordingly to that. But if you're tired and stressed out, you probably don't need to be doing CrossFit 5 days a week.
That's not to say to completely cut out CrossFit or spinning classes. If you already enjoy that, we're not saying completely cut it out. No, just cut back. Put more emphasis on what I'm going to talk about next. So it's basically, the tracking mistakes that I see over and over, like when it comes to your Apple Watch or Fitbits, you need to track your steps, not your calories burned. Now, in terms of MyFitnessPal, it's really important to track your calories and your protein. Never, ever, ever eat back your calories from exercise. When it comes to your training, track your strength, your lifts. Like you have to be getting stronger each week. It's progressive overload, not the calories that you burn from your actual workout.
Agreed, 100%.
So what workouts do we suggest are most beneficial for women over 40? Strength training is number one priority. Why? It improves your bone health, increases muscle mass, and it increases your metabolism. Your best friends, ladies, would be free weights, your dumbbells, your barbells, the machines. I would suggest performing strength training exercise in the 5 to 10 rep range. You have to take longer rests between your sets. You have to let your body kind of recover. So I would suggest taking one rest day between your strength training sessions. Why? For muscle recovery. Your muscle actually does not grow in the gym. It grows when you're at rest. So ideally, look, everyone is different. We would possibly suggest 2 to 3 strength training days per week, like added in with 1 to 2 active recovery days.
Agree with you 100% as far as strength training. Bone health and muscle mass are two things that need to be preserved as we age. We know one of the leading causes of death at a certain point is hip fractures, because we're not strong enough to get up. Well, if we are preserving our muscle, preserving our bones, I think long-term health outcomes are much better in those scenarios. I think as far as weight training, it's whatever you prefer doing. Free weights, machines, dumbbells. I think all of those things are great. Why we would want to train for strength and muscle mass is the more muscle you have, the higher metabolism you will have, the higher energy demand you have. Not saying you want to be, super bulky and muscular, but training a couple times a week is not going to give you that look. It's going to give you that nice defined look, tone, muscle. A couple days a week is really all you need. If you're not working out at all, you don't need to, on January 1, go to the gym every single day. Be very methodical with it. Go a couple days a week, get into a routine. Those type of practices and long-term adherence, that's what's going to give you that end result you want.
Just talking about active recovery day. What is an active recovery day? It's a day when you do something very light, less intense. Like I would suggest possibly yoga. Hot yoga is great, like swimming, walking, obviously Pilates, like some mobility, flexibility exercises. Like instead of doing that HIIT class for 1 hour, just possibly we suggest just get out into the nature. Vitamin D is crucial for your nervous system regulation. Also, pelvic floor and core exercises, we would strongly recommend you do those. So Kegel exercises, they target your pelvic floor muscles, and core strengthening exercises, very simple body weight exercise you can do at home. You don't need fancy equipment. Majority of our clients, they don't join a gym. So yoga poses like planks, bird dogs, bridges, they're all very simple and they can be done at home. Also, what's really crucial, like we burn very little calories from a workout. It's like 5-10% of our total daily energy expenditure comes from a 1 hour workout. We burn more calories just moving more throughout the day. It's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's really important to increase your NEAT. How do you increase your NEAT? Just take more walks during the day, like use the stairs. You don't always have to use the elevator. Like little things like parking your car further away at work, just walk more. Even when you're dancing, you're cooking at home, like when you're on the phone, just go for a walk. Even you're fidgeting, like I do a lot of fidgeting, I burn more calories. So it's crucial that we increase our NEAT.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on just moving more throughout the day. If you have a sedentary job, standing desk is a great option. I do that. They make a trackpad you can put right under your desk. Amazon has them for $200.
Yay!
I'm glad someone's excited. And you can get 5,000-10,000 steps throughout your day. It doesn't have to all be at once. 10 minutes 3 times throughout your 8-hour workday. I like to do that, take phone calls. So those are all great tools. You're going to burn more calories by moving throughout the day. Not one 30-minute session at the end of your day is going to really give you that much total calorie burn.
Let's move on to cortisol. It's all over social media. It's the stress hormone. So it actually increases as we age, particularly after the age of 40. Like it does represent a new challenge, especially for the perimenopausal woman. Now, chronically high cortisol levels, it can suppress ovulation. It decreases the calming hormone progesterone. And during peri and menopause, the body actually reacts way more strongly to stress. So causing cortisol levels to even rise, like even the small little stressful situation.
I think with stress hormones, it's specifically cortisol. When cortisol is chronically elevated, one of your originating hormones, pregnenolone, can actually convert more into the metabolites of cortisol and cortisone, meaning that you'll have less active sex hormones. It's a body's response. They call it the cortisol steal. If someone wants to look that up, there's some information on that. Really not managing stress, having high levels of cortisol is just bad for overall health in general. So it is very important to address it if you feel somewhat burnt out, have adrenal fatigue. That is going to be a crucial point in your journey, is addressing that.
But what are the main factors in elevating cortisol? Again, it's low calorie diets or prolonged calorie deficits. It's even low carbohydrate intake, like high intensity cardio. We spoke about that already. Poor sleep, not resting enough, not recovering from your workout, that causes high cortisol. Like not making me time. It's really important to make you a priority. Put yourself first. If not, it does increase cortisol.
I think with one thing on the cortisol, and we're continuing here, is just I think people undermine sleep. Our bodies are on a wake cycle. So if we look at when cortisol is supposed to be high, it's supposed to be highest in the morning. That's what's supposed to wake you up and get you out of the bed. We call that a cortisol awakening response. That will tend to go down throughout the day, but still stay somewhat elevated as we get into the afternoon, into the evening. Cortisol suppresses, melatonin then increases at that point, and that's where we're able to fall asleep. So for people who are supplementing melatonin because you have insomnia and you're up all night, really it's probably to do with your cortisol patterning, and working on sleep hygiene and the proper sun exposure is something that I'm a huge proponent of to kind of rebalance that.
But what are the consequences of continuous high cortisol levels? It does increase inflammation in the body. It decreases like thyroid hormones, which leads to a slower metabolism. Like you have a higher risk of type 2 diabetes, like insulin resistance. It does increase like belly fat as well. Justin, you went over there some tips. These are some really proven tips and strategies, ladies, to balance your cortisol levels. So the first one is you need to focus on your gut health. So again, increasing the fiber, just cut out all the crap, like reduce sugar in your diet. I would suggest not fasting. I know there's a lot of information online, but do not skip breakfast. You need to maintain blood sugar levels throughout the day. Like as Justin said there, it's really important to get some sun in. So do your best to get out and walk. Like it increases the vitamin D. We went over the high intensity exercises, like cut back or cut out high intensity training. Like switch to walking to yoga, as we said, Pilates. It's important to even get like enough water in. Like a lot of people are not drinking enough water. Aim for 2, 3, possibly 4 liters of water a day. You need to avoid caffeine, like especially like in a fasted state. Like just make sure coffee is decaf. Caffeine is not good for any adrenal issues. Having a wind down routine before bed is amazing. Like so, no blue light, no screens. For reducing inflammation, the Mediterranean diet works really well. It's good, healthy fats. It's high fiber. It's a lot of seafood. Certain supplements do well for adrenal fatigue and high cortisol. Magnesium, ashwagandha, and selenium. Just one last thing there again. I mean, you need to be eating at your maintenance calorie level. From what I've seen over the last X amount of years, the sweet spot for a woman for her maintenance calorie level is around 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day. Just in terms of stress management, everyone, I think we went over a lot of these already. Certain exercises like hot yoga, walking in nature, strength training, and meditation, it's all fantastic for self-care, stress management. Let's move on to insulin resistance during menopause. What is insulin resistance, everyone? Insulin resistance, it occurs over a long period of time when a person eats complex carbohydrates and simple sugars, like your insulin levels rise. If you eat too much sugar over a long period of time, your body basically produces more and more insulin until the insulin does not work effectively. So this is a precursor to various metabolic issues. Insulin resistance can lead to heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, dementia, and non-alcoholic fatty liver.
I think with the insulin resistance topic here is there's definitely a genetic component in that. And for us who are watching this from the United States, we do a very poor job of diagnosing glucose and insulin dysregulation. Really, we are a huge proponent of using the hemoglobin A1C, which I do think is a great metric, but really looking at plasma insulin is going to be a very important metric to track to see what's going on long term. As we start to develop low grade insulin resistance, we will start to have those issues with heart disease, high blood pressure. It's an inflammatory process basically. So that left untreated in, say your 60s or 70s turns into type 2 diabetes. From there, we call dementia type 3 diabetes. That's amyloid buildup in your brain from glucose dysregulation. So it's very, very important to be on top of your metabolic health. I really think of hormones of being abstract. People feel better in different places, but with blood sugar management and lipids, it's pretty black and white. We want to really stay within a normal range with those things. That's what's really going to help you live a long time. Of course, we want to look great in the short term. By controlling glucose and insulin is going to help you mobilize fat, lose weight, have energy throughout the day. It is one of the most important things to pay attention to.
Yeah, you went over just the impact that insulin resistance has on the metabolism. It does increase blood sugar levels. It does lead to weight gain and increased fat storage, specifically around the abdomen. And we touched there on it does lead to high blood pressure and cholesterol levels. It does make weight loss more challenging, doesn't it, Justin? Having high blood sugar, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance.
I think that is probably one of the biggest things that people don't pay attention to is if you are, say you eat a heavy meal, in 30 minutes you can lay down and take a nap, there's probably some issues with glucose and insulin there. The other thing I think about, and I always ask a lot of people, is if you go prolonged periods without eating, if you get weak, shaky, dizzy, lightheaded, quote unquote, hangry, there's probably some issues with glucose and insulin.
So how do you actually balance your blood sugar levels? How do you reduce inflammation in the body? I would suggest Mediterranean diet and some good healthy fats, fruits, vegetables. It's fine. So these type of foods, they're high in vitamins, they're high in minerals. They're good help to combat inflammation. Especially seafood. So seafood is great. It's a great fat and protein source because they're loaded with omega-3 fatty acids. So they're known for their ability to reduce inflammation. Limit high glycemic foods because they would cause a rapid spike in blood sugar levels. Now, you should be aiming for low glycemic foods because they cause a slower rise in blood sugar levels.
Pretty straightforward. I agree with you. I think that balancing food, I think a lot of people just kind of snack throughout the day. Having a fats, carbs, and protein in a single setting is actually going to help with controlling blood sugar. So hypothetically, someone does have higher glycemic carbohydrates, which, I think that you should probably balance that with a protein and a fat. I always opt for lower glycemic. There's usually higher amounts of fiber, which is going to keep you fuller longer. But eating food as a whole instead of grazing throughout the day on, carbohydrate dense snacks throughout the day. That's just going to keep you hungry long term and going to cause a lot of dysregulation of blood sugar.
Let's move on to blood work and hormone testing. Like, what are the importance? Why is it so important to get comprehensive blood work for women over 40, Justin?
Well, what I will say is, for most women, osteoporosis is something that most women will deal with if we're not replacing estrogen at a certain point. Alzheimer's also goes up at that point. So getting an idea of what your estradiol looks like over time and tracking that is very important. Looking at what we spoke about earlier, glucose and insulin. So we look at hormone testing. Well, insulin, glucose, all of those things are going to fall within that same paradigm of things. So we want to make sure that there's no dysregulations there. If you're wanting to lose weight and you're eating a very low amount of calories and you don't know why things aren't budging, you really need to pay attention to what your thyroid's doing. If you have an hypothyroidism, it's going to be very hard to take off that weight. Not saying you need to intervene with medication at that point, but doing the appropriate things to try to get your major thyroid hormones, T4 and T3, in check. So I think it's extremely important. My mother, my grandmother are both on hormones. I believe that is the best thing for them long term. I want them to live a long, healthy life. And I think that keeping hormones within a normal therapeutic range is essential for that.
These are the 6 important tests that I believe, if you have weight loss resistance, everyone should be getting checked. So a full thyroid panel, so TSH, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, and TPO antibodies. You got to double check that your doctor has all 5. If you're only seeing like TSH or TPO, like essentially you're only seeing 10, 15% of what's truly going on with your thyroid. Like most doctors, they don't cover full hormone testing. So you need to see a sex hormone panel. So free and total testosterone, like estrone, which is E1, E2, and progesterone, and LH and FSH as well. For insulin resistance, you need to see hemoglobin A1C. That's the average blood sugar levels over the last 3 months. Ideally, you need to keep that below 5.4. Like glucose on labs, optimal is between 70 and 90. And insulin, healthy levels are between 4 and 8. For adrenal fatigue, high cortisol, what we do with our clients is a Dutch cortisol awakening response. It's a 5-point saliva test taken throughout a 24-hour period. And for inflammation on labs and cardiovascular disease, you should see a C-reactive protein and homocysteine panel. For severe gut issues, a GI map test is an at-home stool test that we deliver to our clients. It's for clients that have severe bloating. It's a test for bacteria, worms, inflammation that cause autoimmune diseases, that cause GI issues. Is there any other test you'd add here, Justin?
I think that just kind of, I was looking at some of the questions. Someone is asking risks about potential cancers and hormone replacement therapy. Well, looking at a Dutch test and looking at estrogen metabolism. So we spoke about the Dutch test, the sex hormone portion, will actually show you how you metabolize different estrogens. Some estrogens are proliferative, meaning they can cause increase in growth. Some metabolites are inflammatory as well. So you don't have to be on hormones to develop breast cancer. Even if you are a healthy 40-year-old woman who still has her menstrual cycle, you probably still want to look at a test like that to make sure you're processing your estrogens appropriately, and to make sure that everything is detoxifying. So that would be the other test that I recommend a lot of people, especially the woman who has estrogen dominance. It is very helpful to assess what potentially could be wrong.
Yeah, so estrogen dominance, and what are the main reasons why a woman would get estrogen dominance? It would be poor gut health, poor liver health, high stress, just not eating the correct foods mainly?
I think GI is going to play a huge role in there. How well you can process stuff through your GI tract. We also look at different phases of methylation. So that it goes through three different processes to make estrogen. So it's through a hydroxylation process, meaning water soluble. Then it's going to go through a methylation process, which is urine. And then phase 3 is going to be through bile, which is stool essentially. So GI is going to play a huge role in there. And then just making sure you have the appropriate minerals and supplements to support that process.
This is taken from the supplement manual that we have with our clients. There's like 34 different health issues with 200 plus supplements that we would suggest. But the main supplements for hot flashes, night sweats, some of these are like red clover is great. Maca is great. I take that myself. Dim is great for balancing estrogen, like progesterone, raspberry, mesricanile. Black cohosh is really good for hot flashes and mood swings as well. But don't forget testosterone as well. I mean, boron is great. Zinc. Would you suggest a woman taking some of these, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, zinc's going to be a backbone for homocysteine methylation. The big craze everybody's talking about right now is MTHFR, which is a genetic mutation. If we look at how we process hormones, toxins, zinc's going to be key there. It's also going to help with testosterone. Vitamin D is essential. We can get into more specifics like the D-aspartic acid if someone has chronically low testosterone or they have symptoms that correlate with low testosterone. But yes, I think all of them are applicable in certain scenarios.
You can take a screenshot with your phone here, ladies. It might be very valuable. I'll have the PDF version of this presentation over on the app for my current clients later on. But I suggest you taking a photo with your phone for the supplements. Let's move on to the last thing to talk about. It's hormone replacement therapy, Justin.
Yeah, so I wanted to look. I think Sally had sent a message saying, also, please discuss hormone replacement therapy and the risks of cancer. So in the early 2000s, the Women's Health Initiative did a study on synthetic hormones. So synthetic hormones are what they sound like. Those are progestins and synthetic estrogens. Those are going to be derived from horse urine and various synthetic compounds. What they did is they also did a non-controlled group. So most of that didn't check if people were smokers, had a risk of breast cancer, heart disease, or high blood pressure. And they extrapolated this data and said that hormones are not safe and they can cause these types of cancers. What we know now, and I actually posted some literature. I actually know Dr. Ken Holter. I've met him a few times. He's one of the leaders in bioidentical hormones. What we know about bioidentical, meaning the same hormones that our bodies produce, is they are relatively safe. Granted that you are not at risk for breast cancer. You don't have BRCA1, BRCA2. You don't have ovarian cancer in your family. Hormones are probably going to be pretty safe for you, granted that you are healthy, you're able to detox them. I do think that they are becoming more popular and they will continue to be more of a hot topic in women's health. I think why I love women's health so much, it's underrepresented as far as in health community. And I think that a lot of women have a lot of problems that a lot of providers do not know how to care for.
So bioidentical HRT is the safer version, apparently, yeah, because it's yam-based, not soy-based, yeah?
Well, not even that it's from yams or wherever they're deriving it from. Bioidentical means it's 17 beta estradiol. It's 17 beta testosterone. That's the same testosterone and estradiol your body makes. You know how to convert that. If we give somebody a synthetic hormone, you may get synthetic metabolites. Our bodies do not know how to process those things. Bioidentical means that they're the same exact thing that our body makes.
So how often should a woman be getting blood work then, regular checkups, if they're on synthetic or bioidentical HRT?
Sure. And I see both of that. I see a lot of standard primary cares just put women on synthetic hormones, synthetic birth control, Yaz, whatever it is, progestin-based drugs. You know, OBGYN may pull something like that once a month or once a year. What I think makes most sense, if say someone is going to be on hormones when initially starting, obviously doing labs to get a baseline, 8 to 10 weeks after initial start to make sure everything's in check. And then on a 6-month basis at a minimum. I do mine labs more regular, but I would say at least every 6 months you should get in and be looking at things to make sure there's no abnormalities.
So in your clinic, what percentage of women are on synthetic HRT compared to
we don't do synthetic hormones.
It's just bioidentical.
Just bioidentical hormone.
And the studies indicate that women using bioidentical HRT tend to live longer and gain less weight compared to those not on HRT. That's a controversial statement.
Yeah, I don't really know if it's even controversial at this point. You know, if we look at long-term health outcomes, dementia, osteoporosis, type 2 diabetes, a lot of that's going to be due to lack of sex hormones. I like to think of sex hormones as your metabolism. You know, that's going to encompass thyroid hormone, glucose, and insulin. When we have downregulations in sex hormones, we're going to have dysfunction in other places in the body. So I do think that there is more and more data circulating, clinical data, that bioidentical hormones are very safe.
Just some success stories really quickly here, just of clients that work with us. This woman was a principal in New York City. She had 2 special needs kids and a third kid. She didn't have time to work out. She had a lot of GI issues. She had high cortisol. She wasn't overweight, but she still wasn't as body confident as she'd like. So she was 42 years of age. She was skinny fat. And now she had a bikini body. If you look at the calories, we did bring her down as low as 1,300 to get the stubborn body fat off. But after 3 months, we reversed her back up. And now she's maintaining on 1,800. That job, we've done it within 4 months. Here's another one of our clients. I coached her 5 years ago. She's in Montreal. She was a 63-year-old woman. She had insulin resistance. We managed to reverse her insulin resistance. She did have that quick kind of starter mindset, quick fix mindset. Well, she lost 30 pounds and managed to keep it off. Her main inspiration was to do it for her 3 grandkids. Here's one of our current clients. I don't know if she's on watching this. Twilla, she's lost 30 pounds in the last 4 months. She's coached by Charlotte. I believe Coach Charlotte is here as well. So Twilla is in Manitoba. Win for her. She got off her blood pressure tablets. That's huge. Her acid reflux cleared up. Her menopause belly is gone. She just re-signed with us. So her goal is to get to 150. She's lost 30 pounds. She's another 15, 20 to go. Once she hits 150 pounds, then we reverse her back up, like the previous client, Amanda, New York. This is probably one of our best transformations ever. This was a 47-year-old client going through perimenopause. She's in Vancouver. She lost 118 pounds. It's massive. So again, she had 2 kids, very, very busy, always on the go. She didn't lose the 118 pounds in 4 months, 6 months. It required several fat loss phases and diet breaks and reverse dieting. But in 18 months, she did lose 118 pounds. That's an incredible transformation. Just finishing up now, guys. So our non-clients watching this, I have an offer for you. So we're offering free blood work, comprehensive blood work, and a lab review if you sign up to our program. Like the value of this is 650 USD. So to see if you're a good fit, just schedule a call with me or my team. How do you schedule a call? Click the link in the chat box to schedule a call, or you can click the link in my IG bio, the pictures to the right, or you can just DM me on Instagram with the word #Bloodwork. So the first 5 get in. We're offering this until midnight tonight. Tomorrow is the 1st of December. It's a great opportunity. Now, for clients outside of the US and Canada, what we do, this is still available to them. We do testing through saliva, urine, and finger prick. We send at-home kits to your house. You don't have to go to an actual clinic to draw blood. So now it's time to do a quick Q&A session.
I can run through a couple of these. So I don't know if Gloria is still on here, but can you address intermittent fasting at one point, please? Safe ways to get off Synthroid. I guess my question for you would be, were you prescribed Synthroid from a provider and you're having negatives with that? Going once, going twice. Okay. I wanted to address Sally. I sent you the literature Zoom chat here on bioidentical hormones. If you want to read over that, it's a well-published doctor on bioidentical hormones and the safety of them.
Okay.
And then Amber, with water, drinking water, we pee out a lot of it, leaving a state of dehydration. Electrolytes, would the coaching group agree that everybody should be using electrolytes? Should start your morning with water and electrolytes, right, Charlotte? Every day.
For fasting, I just want to talk about fasting. Like, it's not for everyone, but for people that have blood sugar issues or hormonal issues, I wouldn't recommend it personally. You need to evenly spread out your meals across the day. That's going to stabilize your blood sugar levels. But fasting, for some people, it can work. Like for myself, when I'm in a fat loss phase, I do an 8-hour eating window. I fast for 16 hours. But for a woman over 40, I genuinely would not recommend it, especially if you maybe have eating disorder as well or a bad relationship with food. You may end up binging. So spread out your meals across the day. Remember, 35 grams of protein with each meal.
I've seen an interesting one here from Heidi. Heidi, if you are in the United States, there are a lot of places where you can just do your own labs. I mean, Davey has a great panel that you could do that would encompass all of this stuff. If you're getting a provider who does not want to look at those things, you have to realize if you have health insurance and the doctor does not deem it necessary to write those codes, you're not going to get the appropriate labs that you need. That's why most of us will pay out of pocket for labs. One, it's a lot less money, and two, you can get the specifics that you need. That would be my recommendation for you.
Yeah, I'd love to get on a call with you, Heidi, and find out your goals, your struggles, what specific hormonal issues you're having. Don't hesitate to click that link.
The other one, I sent some literature. You may have seen this one. I addressed Sally. I was going to address Leslie here. Is I sent you some more information on the postmenopausal woman. If you look at this data, it's saying, doctors believe that patients should not be deprived of hormones at a certain point of age. The cardio and neuroprotective benefits with hormone replacement therapy are going to be best within the first 8 years to really prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, osteoporosis, but there's still a lot of benefit of using hormones at a later date, improving libido, energy, elasticity of skin, fat loss. As long as someone's healthy enough and does not have any of the contraindications as far as breast cancer, ovarian cancer, probably would be something I would still look at. You would probably benefit a lot from that.
Yeah, because I'm like 8 years out, more than that.
I don't think that there's really any wrong time to start. What I would say is that as long as you have a good baseline of health, it's going to be very, very helpful for you.
My doctor said I look good on paper.
I would say, I would look at doing some labs and see what's going on, especially if you're symptomatic. There's at a certain point we can't get our bodies to produce more hormones. We're living 30, 40 years, longer than we're designed to. So things start to downregulate. We want to have the later years of our life to be just as fruitful as the beginning. I think hormones, controlling inflammation,
I'm a walking inflammation.
Are you working with somebody here? Do you work with one of the coaches?
Not yet. Not yet. I want to start. Well, I really can't start anything till after the first of the year. We're in the process of building a house, and it's cortisol, stress, lots of it, but getting there.
Yeah, I'm sure that one of the coaches would love to work with you. Actually, get to do some lab review stuff with me, and when things settle down, definitely reach out.
Yeah, I was supposed to meet with you the other day, and something came up, and it's just like,
It's completely understandable, Leslie, that this time of the year there's so much going on.
Oh my goodness.
Where there's never a perfect time to start either. I mean,
hey, if you can get started, that's half the battle.
There's always going to be events and parties, but the longer that you wait to do something that you should do now, the greater the odds that you'll never actually do it.
Right. Well, hey, I did not gain weight over Thanksgiving, so I was real happy about that.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I was like, oh, okay, I did something right. So
another question here, Heidi says, can I get the blood work without Davy's coaching? We don't offer the blood work on its own because knowing that on its own, it's useless. You won't know what to do with it. We like to work with our clients on an ongoing basis, so we fix their issues for good. So you need that full package. You need that accountability Monday to Saturday on nutrition, on lifestyle, like everything we covered today, literally the blood work, you need the lab review adjusted. So on its own, unfortunately, we don't offer the blood work on its own. Any other questions, guys? What's your biggest takeaways, Leslie?
Oh, biggest take is I knew most of the information because I've done a lot of reading. I mean, I knew what I was going through. I'm past the hot flash and all of that. I'm way beyond that. But I know my cortisol levels are probably through the roof. I have been active because I have back issues, neck issues, and shoulder issues. So I have to be able to work with somebody, and I'm hoping that I do this to where I can exercise without hurting myself. And this has been really wonderful. A lot of good information that I hope to put to good use. So, yeah. It's time to do it. It's time to do it.
Has anyone any other questions before we finish? In a long day, long session. Happy to answer any questions.
I think you answered most of mine. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. I really do.
I'll email the replay to everyone anyway. And there's actually a PDF version of this as well, which you can read. You may find very valuable because there's a lot of it's very comprehensive. I do believe putting all this together, it's going to be tough. That's why, don't hesitate to reach out. on a call. I mean, the call is free as well. So you have nothing to lose. If you feel like it's a good fit, fine. If not, I completely understand. So the links are in the chat box and on my Instagram.
Sounds good.
Thanks everyone for joining, and God bless.
Take care. Happy Christmas.
Hey.